Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. We're going to cover two topics today. The first one is Jeffrey Epstein and Trump's involvement with him. And number two is the next No Kings protest coming up on October 18th for Donald Trump and his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. On August 25th of this year, the House Oversight Committee issued a subpoena to the estate of Jeffrey Epstein requesting all documents associated with his criminal activities and dealings with prominent individuals. We can see the subpoena, the official subpoena here. Here's the subpoena by the authority of the House of Representatives of the Congress of the United States of America, asking to produce the things identified on the attached schedule. Let's look at the attached schedule. This is a list of individual documents that the House Committee wanted. So all entries contained within the reported leather-bound book compiled by Miss Ghislaine Maxwell for Mr. Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday. This is the birthday book that we're actually going to cover today. The last will and testament, all non-disclosure agreements, September 24th, 2007 non-prosecution agreement between the U.S. Attorney's Office, and so on and so forth. There is a lot of documentation that the House Committee wants, and I will be covering some of it today, specifically the birthday book that Jeffrey Epstein received from Ghislaine Maxwell back in 2003 for his 50th birthday. So on that note, we'll go to the book. One of the documents within this birthday book happens to be a letter sent from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, before I get to the content of the letter that you see here, this is what Donald Trump said back in July when the Wall Street Journal first reported on the existence of the letter.
You maintain you did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday?
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building? And I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, for a charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women.
Okay. The letter comes out, finally, and now we know that it exists. And we caught Donald Trump in the act of lying previously. Now his excuse seems to be that the signature down here, it is not his signature. That is his excuse now. I've compared his first name, how it's signed over here, to official documents. It's the exact same signature. And over here it says Donald J. Trump. By the way, this is official evidence that was submitted to the House Oversight Committee. This is legitimate, and there is no reason to believe that this is a fake letter. So this excuse that Donald Trump is giving now, that this was a hoax and this isn't a letter that was written by him, or it doesn't have his signature, it's a bunch of BS. Now, let me read the letter here in detail. So we start with the figure. This is apparently a woman. It seems to be a woman. We have the curvish figure with breast. And I'll start up here, the voiceover saying, there must be more to life than having everything. Donald, this is what he says in his letter. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Donald J. Trump. Okay, I want to give everyone a challenge. Imagine if this had been a letter that was sent from Barack Obama to Jeffrey Epstein. This would be the smoking gun on Fox News, and they would claim that Barack Obama is a pedophile and he was working with Jeffrey Epstein on his sex trafficking ring. However, that's not what we're hearing from Fox News and other right wing media. We are hearing them support Donald Trump and get on his side with the claim that this is a fake letter. That's what we're seeing right now. So, this is yet again another example of the hypocrisy on the right side of the aisle. And you can always catch that hypocrisy by always asking yourself, what if Barack Obama or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris had done the same thing? They would be raked over the coals, of course, but not with Donald Trump. Why? Because we have a cult following for Donald Trump. He is the leader of a cult, and they will do everything they can, all types of mental gymnastics, to justify Donald Trump's behavior, including this. Now, this letter makes Donald Trump look extremely, extremely guilty and in cahoots with Jeffrey Epstein. I went through the entire birthday book today, and I'll also be going through other documents in the later podcasts episodes this week and next week. So every day I'll be doing one documentation review. And this is it. This is what I did today. So let me go to some of the highlights, and just so everyone gets a little background of it. Ghislaine Maxwell put together this book for Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday. She went around to people that Jeffrey Epstein knew, gathered letters, pictures, memories of Jeffrey Epstein, basically thanking him and saying how he was such a great guy. She gathered all that documentation together and put it in this book. The book has sections to it. It has prologue, family, Brooklyn, girlfriends, children, friends, science, and it's a book. It's an entire book. So I'll go through some of the highlights. I found some disturbing images in this birthday book. Let's go through the first one here. In this image, you see a picture that was drawn for Jeffrey Epstein. And on the left-hand side, you have a man who appears to be Jeffrey Epstein in 1983 handing balloons and a lollipop to what appears to be young females, younger than 18, of course. And then we go to the right side of the picture here. We see the man naked, the same man appearing to be Jeffrey Epstein, and a mansion behind him with four blonde women, and they seem to be a little bit on the older side now. And the only thing, one of them is giving him a foot massage and yada yada, just very sexual imaging here. What this implies is that Jeffrey Epstein was grooming these girls in 1983, and then in 2003 they became his masseuses, for lack of a better word. This points to Jeffrey Epstein and Jeffrey Epstein's friends' knowledge of his activities and what he was doing. And we have example after example of this type of acknowledgement in this book. Let's go through to the next image. And this is the guy that Donald Trump was associating with. Okay. In this one, we see Jeffrey Epstein here with a redacted female individual, a male, another male here. He's holding a check for himself for $22,500. The signature is Donald J. Trump. There is a note under the picture that says, Jeffrey showing early talents with money and women. Sells, quote unquote, fully depreciated, redacted, to Donald Trump for $22,500. Showed early people skills too. Even though I handled the deal, I don't get any of the money or the girl. Let's unwrap what's being said here a little bit. Jeffrey showing early signs of talent with money and women. And then it says sells fully depreciated blank. Jeffrey Epstein selling, it's either some sort of product or person, We have quotes here, fully depreciated. By the way, fully depreciated refers to tax law, where you can write off a piece of capital, a piece of equipment, and you can write that off fully in 1 year. But here we have the rest, so we don't know whether it's a person or an actual item or both. But there seems to be a connection between this money and this girl. I mean, we have the girl here and here in the photograph, and the sentence, even though I handled the deal, I don't get any of the money or the girl. This kind of implies that the girl that we're talking about was part of the deal, which makes it creepy and disturbing. Let's go to the next one. All right. In this picture, we'll start off here. There is a letter saying, "Dear Jeffrey, for the man who has almost everything, but never enough of these." And then it says, "So with best wishes, you for your birthday." Something, hey, the best wishes for your birthday. The next picture after that is what appears to be a tit print. It even says it 2002. So a woman took her breast, made an imprint of it, and sent it to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday. And here's the other part of it. He said, in honor of Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday. Lastly, I want to talk about the documentation I found on Bill Clinton in this document, because I know that this is going to come up. I know that the right is going to say, look, you guys are talking about Donald Trump's letter. What about Bill Clinton's letter? Well, let's go to it. And by the way, there's not a double standard here. If Donald Trump is implicated with Jeffrey Epstein, I'm not going to excuse Bill Clinton from being implicated with Jeffrey Epstein if there's evidence of it. I will hold both of them to the same standard and account, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I know that's going to be the next talking point for the right wing. So let's go to Bill Clinton's letter. Okay. Of course, down here it says Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton wrote this. It's hard to read, but it says happy 50th. I look, I tried to read this, but what I did catch was, you have a childlike curiosity, talking about Jeffrey Epstein, to drive to make a difference, and something friends. So this is a basic note written by Bill Clinton to Jeffrey Epstein. I will point out that there is no woman figure. There seems to be no talk about women or secrets. So if you compare the two letters between Bill Clinton and Donald Trump's, there is obviously more creepiness with the letter from Donald Trump, especially since Donald Trump's letter talks about secrets. This is a letter that just screams, we did something together, it was most likely criminal, and we're openly talking about it without actually saying what we did. So do we see what's going on here, the big picture? The big picture is that for years, the right wing has accused Democrats and Bill Clinton for being involved with Jeffrey Epstein, and that was their talking point, that the liberal elites were working with Jeffrey Epstein to help him in his sexual trafficking crimes. However, that's not the case that we're seeing in the actual documentation. What we're starting to see is that Donald Trump was intimately involved with Jeffrey Epstein. They were friends, and this letter doesn't help Donald Trump's case or the right wing's case that it was only liberal elites involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Furthermore, this letter points to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein committing acts against minors, because of, if you take this letter and mix it in with everything else in this book, Jeffrey Epstein was a lover of women, and he was not shy about it. We can see that from this book. We get a picture that Donald Trump was involved with Jeffrey Epstein and women. I'm not claiming that Donald Trump had any dealings with underage women. It just seems that from this book, and I'm going to review all the other documentation, that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were up to no good. That's what it seems like. So I'll close it out on that topic. And next, I want to go to the next No Kings protest coming up on October 18th of this year. As you know, Donald Trump sent troops to Los Angeles. He sent troops to Washington, D.C. And now he's going to deploy troops in Chicago. I told you months ago this would happen when Donald Trump sent troops to Los Angeles. I told you that this is only his first step and he is going to send troops to other places, and that is exactly what he's doing right now. I also told you that we need to protest, and we need to protest often. We need to have a constant pressure campaign against Donald Trump to make it harder for him to become a dictator, because where things seem to be going now is Trump deploying the National Guard to liberal cities and liberal states in an effort to control the local government. And when you control the local government, part of that is the election system. So I fear that one of the reasons that Donald Trump is doing this now is so that he can control the elections coming up in 2026 and potentially in 2028 if he decides, if and when he decides to run for a third term. So we need to protest. So what I'm proposing to you today is on October 18th, there's going to be nationwide protests for the No Kings protest organizations. So I encourage you to go to www.nokings.org. On the website, you will find a search bar where it asks for your location. And once you input your location, you can then find the nearest protest to you. So I encourage you to go to that. With that being said, that's our episode for today, and I will see everyone tomorrow.